Imagine a world that is completely new, untamed, and deeply quiet. The first humans have been exiled from Eden, forced to carve out a living in the dirt. Right away, they face a brutal reality. They have free will, and without a direct connection to their creator, that freedom is highly volatile. When Adam's son Cain grows jealous of his brother Abel, God gives him a highly specific warning. He describes sin as a predator crouching at the door, a creature waiting for human permission to enter. Cain alone has the power to either master it or let it in. Cain makes his choice. He invites his brother to a quiet field, and in a moment that shatters human history, the first murder takes place. The consequences are immediate. Cain is cursed to wander the earth, stripped of his ability to farm. But God does not strike him down. Instead, he places a specific mark of protection on Cain to ensure no one kills him in his exile. Cain walks away a murderer and a fugitive, yet he carries a signature from the Creator that says, "Do not touch him." It is the first sign that God's plan for humanity will not be derailed by the gravity of our worst failures. Generations pass, and human rebellion evolves. Instead of raw violence in a field, the striving becomes calculated, wrapped up in family politics and inheritance across the sprawling desert. We see this in Jacob. When it comes time to inherit the family blessing, Jacob doesn't trust God to deliver it. He dresses in his older brother Esau's clothes, covers his smooth skin with goat hair, and tricks his blind, aging father into giving him the blessing. He gets what he wants, but the cost is immediate. His family fractures. Esau vows to kill him, and Jacob is forced to flee his home. He spends the next chapter of his life looking over his shoulder, working in exile, and dealing with the paranoia of being a hunted man. Jacob achieves the blessing, but the manipulation required to get it leaves him entirely alone. He has secured the inheritance, yet he has never been further from peace. Eventually, Jacob's past catches up to him. He finds himself trapped in the dead of night at the edge of the Jabbok River, knowing his brother Esau is marching toward him with an army. He is entirely alone, out of tricks, and geographically cornered. In the darkness, a figure appears, and Jacob engages in a desperate physical wrestling match with God that lasts until dawn. Jacob only survives by finally giving up his self-reliance. He refuses to let go until he receives a genuine divine blessing, one he doesn't have to steal. In response, God dislocates his hip, leaving him with a permanent limp, but gives him a new name, Israel. He secures his greatest victory through total submission. This pattern of human surrender triggering divine grace echoes down the timeline. We see it again centuries later, when the prophet Elijah passes his authority to Elisha. There are no flashing lights or dramatic speeches. Elijah's mantle simply falls. When that rough fabric hits the dirt, it carries immense weight. Elisha understands that picking it up means abandoning his entire livelihood to accept a silent, heavy calling. God continually steps into the mess of human history to rescue individuals who surrender. But protecting a single wanderer or blessing a single prophet does not solve the root problem. The brokenness is too deep. Humanity requires a permanent cosmic solution. 500 years before the birth of Jesus, that cosmic solution is outlined in coordinates that are almost uncomfortably specific. An exiled Jewish captive named Daniel is sitting in Babylon, studying old scrolls, when the angel Gabriel arrives with a message. Gabriel delivers the 70 weeks prophecy. It is a 490-year master plan designed to permanently put an end to sin and provide a final atonement for humanity. God gives a precise starting gun for this countdown. The clock begins ticking the moment a foreign king officially issues a decree to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. History records exactly when that happens, March 14, 445 BC, when the Persian king Artaxerxes gives Nehemiah the order to rebuild. This animated timeline tracks the math. Gabriel states the Messiah will arrive after 69 weeks of years. Using ancient prophetic calendars, which consist of 360 days per year, the calculation is 69 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 360. That equals exactly 173,880 days. To verify this, researchers collaborated with astronomers from the Royal Observatory in London. Factoring in leap years and the historical transition from BC to AD, they mapped those exact days against the lunar cycles. The lead investigator on this project was Sir Robert Anderson, a former chief of Scotland Yard. He treated the biblical text like a forensic timeline, tracking the math day by day. The 70 weeks prophecy moves the divine plan out of the realm of abstract philosophy and into the world of verifiable, real-time math. It functions as a schedule tracked by the same physics we use to navigate the stars. The countdown takes us directly to the gates of Jerusalem. The city is packed with millions of travelers gathering for the Passover festival. This diagram tracks the final days of the countdown, locking on to exactly April 6, 32 AD. It is the 173,880th day. On that afternoon, Jesus of Nazareth rides down the Mount of Olives on a donkey, allowing the crowds to publicly proclaim him king. But human free will steps in again. Just days later, the crowds turn on him and demand the Romans crucify him. The Messiah is cut off, exactly as Gabriel predicted, and the prophetic clock comes to a violent halt. Notice the math. Only 69 of the 70 weeks have been fulfilled. Because the Messiah was rejected, God hits pause on the timeline for the nation of Israel. This creates what is known as the prophetic gap. This gap is the era we live in right now. Because the clock stopped, the specific, localized grace that God once gave to individuals like Cain or Jacob is now pushed wide open, made freely available to the entire world. We are living inside a massive parenthesis in history, but this borrowed time will eventually expire. The final 7 years of Gabriel's prophecy are still waiting, and the clock is preparing to restart.